Welcome to our discussion on using Domo Bricks to design a personalized self-serve reporting portal. I'm Gene Danilenko. My co-presenter is James Blevin. We are both with UnitedHealth Group and on the Enterprise Corporate People Analytics team. So I want to talk about a little bit on who we are. So as part of UnitedHealth Group, we're actually two different business platforms, Optum, which is health services, and United Healthcare, which more people may know is health benefits. We have 350,000 global employees, 324 billion in revenue, and we're a Fortune 5, and we have about 1,200 end users or customers in our People Analytics Hub, which is our portal for self-service reporting. So why the People Analytics Hub? It really was on user feedback. We've had about 2 years of feedback on our former collection of dashboards and reports, which were loosely organized. We had focus groups. We did key informant interviews. We were looking at Domo usage statistics. We had a lot of informal one-on-one feedback when we were doing consulting that we were actually not hitting the mark on where our end users wanted us to be, and we did not see adoption where we thought it should be. What was our key learning on this two-year journey? Our learning curve was steep, right? So, and it all came down to our user experience, the UX. We needed better navigation among the different kinds of reports and dashboards that we had. We needed to rethink our information architecture or our content bucketing. We needed search to be more carefully curated and controlled. And then we needed consistency on visualization, color, language. Basically, people wanted an app-like experience where everything behaved in a very similar fashion and was easy to use, and so that the learning curve was flattened and a lot less steep. So what did it take us? We spent 4 months of user experience design and feedback. We actually did hire an agency to help us with some of the design concepts and to help us with thinking through some of the information architecture. We did spend a lot of time with our end users getting feedback on initial designs. We made a lot of updates. And then we spent 6 months in iterative development, also using some end user touch points in between some of our sprints. And then finally, in November, we did actually launch version 1 of our People Analytics Hub. And right now, with our stats from February of 2023 comparing to February of 2022, we have about 3.5% more users, close to 7% additional logins, which isn't huge yet, but this is only about 3 months really where we've kind of been in launch mode. But the big story is our content engagement is way up. So the views, our shares, the exports, kind of speaking to the usability of our content has significantly improved by putting things together into the self-serve portal. So just a quick overview. What did we do? Well, we leveraged Domo Bricks, and pretty much every page is a collection of Domo Bricks, where we have a breadcrumb navigation, we have personalized highlights, so we know who you are, we know what your PDP is, and so we're only displaying content that you actually can see, avoiding people getting into a screen or a dashboard that they actually do not have access and then trying to request access for it. We have a brand new information architecture, we have new design, content standards, layout, language that's all the same, color schemes that are all the same, and a consistent footer where people can get help or additional resources. So that's kind of just a bit of the overview. I'm going to turn it over to James Blevins, where he is going to give you a demonstration and talk quite a bit more in detail on how we accomplished using Domo Bricks and Webforms to build this app-like experience.
Okay, I'm going to start by showing you what the finished product looks like, and then I'll dive into the Domo Bricks that we used. So let me go to our dev instance. When I log into our instance, you'll notice that the People Analytics Hub, or PAH as we call it internally, is my homepage. We actually use the Domo Governance Toolkit to dynamically set the homepage for every user in our instance. Those who have access to the PAH get this page as their homepage, while everybody else gets this homepage right here. Now I'm going to close the dashboard so you can see what it looks like without being able to see the side nav. Okay, so I'm here at the People Analytics Hub. It's got a header and some navigation links. I'm going to go into the workforce, I'm going to go into diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one thing I want to point out, as I go through this, pay attention to the header. That's where we have a dynamic breadcrumb that shows you exactly where you are in relationship to the People Analytics Hub. And it updates every page you go on. Okay, so here we have another page with additional content. I'm going to go to the Domopalooza demo page. Okay, so here we have a combination of DDX bricks with content. You'll notice that not everything is a DDX brick. These are all Domo cards right here, and so are these. And then we have our standard footer and disclaimer. You look at the header, we are under diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Domopalooza 2023 DEI demo. Have a link here to click on another page, and you'll notice it's a completely different path in the header. One of the things that we did is we redesigned the People Analytics Hub is we wanted to be consistent with our look and feel. So we are making use of branding colors. Certain metrics have a standard color that they use no matter what card they're in. And so those are some of the design elements we incorporated into this redesign. So let's go into some details here. In the People Analytics space at UHG, we like to think of the dashboard and groups of dashboards we curate for our users as products. And in order to be a product, it needs to have a similar look and feel to it with consistent behavior, standard elements in the same place on every page. And as we went through the initial stages of the PAH redesign process, we reached out to our Domo CSM and Domo Consulting to see how we could best accomplish this as part of the redesign. And they gave us two options. We could embed cards into a web application using Domo Everywhere, or we could create a custom app. Now, either one of those options would have been great and would have given us exactly what we wanted. The problem was the time and the resource constraints we were under meant that neither one of them would work for the project. So we came up with a third option that gave us exactly what we needed without requiring nearly the effort and overhead that Domo Everywhere or a custom app would require. And that is a hybrid approach using standard Domo cards and dashboards, but using Domo Bricks for the things we couldn't accomplish using stock Domo functionality. For those of you who haven't worked with Domo Bricks before, Domo Bricks are pre-built objects that allow you to create advanced visualizations and apps that can be customized by tweaking the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Or if you have the skills and there isn't a pre-built brick that does what you want, you can do what we did and create your own. If you're at all familiar with Domo apps, it's a very similar concept, but the development and build process is greatly streamlined, and Domo Bricks takes care of a lot of the housekeeping that you have to do with custom apps. So I'm going to go back to the home page. Okay, so let me talk in more detail about the actual DDX bricks. This is a header brick. This is what we call a landing page brick that simply provides links for navigation. And we also have a footer brick. As I mentioned before, we have this dynamic breadcrumb in our People Analytics Hub. If this were an actual web application, then we could have as many levels as we needed of pages and subpages. And it turns out for us that number is 4, but Domo only gives you 3, a top level page and 2 levels of subpages. So the first thing we did was in order to generate that breadcrumb, we used Domo Bricks to simulate that actual web product experience. The other thing is the content in here. This is all driven by data sets. Everything in here is controlled by a data set. And we actually use Domo Webforms for that. And we also use a few other data sets derived from the Domo Governance Datasets connector. In most contexts, we are able to use JavaScript to parse out the page ID where the Domo brick is being displayed. So the code uses that page ID as a key to look up the configuration and values that should appear in the brick for the page we are looking at. So I'm going to show you what that looks like under the hood. I'm going to copy the page ID, and you'll see why here in just a second. Okay, I said in most contexts you are able to get the page ID using JavaScript. In the edit card mode for DDX bricks, that is one of the places where you're not able to do that. So I'm going to throw it in here so that you'll have something to look at. I made the change, I click run, and that brings it up. Now you'll notice that we don't see everything in the header, but if you click this full page box right here, then you'll see what it will look like on the page. And this is really as simple as a few lines of JavaScript, some HTML, and some CSS to format it. And in addition, there are data sets that you can tie to your DDX brick. By default, or Domo brick. By default, it comes with 3 data sets that can be wired to it. There is a special DDX brick that has up to 10. So if you need more than 3 data sets, that's the one that you should start with. As you can see, we have a data set that shows pages and subpages so that we can get the breadcrumb. We have some configuration for the actual breadcrumb. And then this one contains all the content for all the various headers for each page in the People Analytics Hub. I'm going to show you 2 things real quick. In the HTML, if you go in and you just add something, and hit run, it automatically it updates it in real time. So it makes it very easy to develop when you can see what you're doing as it's happening. All right, now I'm going to show you header configuration. Here is the record that contains the configuration for this page. Now I'm going to do a quick edit here. Oops. Actually, I want to change this. I'm going to change the copy to have exclamation marks instead. So I save the web form, hit run, and it's updated on the back end. So you can change the content without ever having to go in and touch the actual code, which is one of the benefits to using DDX bricks and web forms. Now I'm going to go back and revert. If I can get the right one here, give me a second. Okay. So that's our header brick. An example of what the editor looks like and how to use it. Okay, the other brick that we have is this landing page brick. And in the web form, we can configure everything about this landing page and what's on each landing page. The configuration includes colors, and these colors are meaningful. They're brand colors, and two, they indicate certain things. The content in blue is the most commonly accessed content. It's the most important things that people need to know where they are, where people will probably spend most of their time when they come into the PAH. And so for new users, it helps them know right off the bat, where they should be focusing. Normal links to other content in the PAH are white and turn gray when we hover over them. And any of these light blue links, that color indicates that the link will open outside of the People Analytics Hub and that you're not going to have the same user experience if you click on one of those. As Gene mentioned, one of the things that we wanted to solve for was links to content that people do not have access to. If you create a standard link using regular Domo content, the card is available for everybody to see and everybody to click on. If they don't have access, they get the button to request page access. And we didn't want users to see things that they shouldn't and to be asking for things that people are just going to have to say no to. So while every single one of these links exists in the configuration data set, we have the ability in DDX Bricks to access the Domo user object for the logged in user. And we use that to grab the logged in user's Domo user ID, and we check that against a data set that is derived from the Domo governance datasets connector to see if the user has access to the page or not. If the user doesn't have access, then they simply won't see the link. And all the content shifts and they will see white space at the bottom. So let's go back to one of these pages that has Domo content along with the Domo bricks. Okay, a big part of ensuring a consistent look and feel in the PAH was to create design standards that we applied consistently across all pages and cards. We created formal documented certification guidelines, and then we used the Domo certification process to ensure somebody looked at every single card and page and that they corrected any defects that we found. So the result of that was every card, every page is in alignment with our design standards. And so once every card and page passed certification, we then used Domo Sandbox to promote the content from our dev environment to our production instance. And unfortunately, that process falls outside of the scope of this presentation, but you should definitely check out Domo Sandbox as well as the certification process if you want to have a more disciplined approach to development in Domo. The third type of DDX brick we use is the footer, which is the same card or same brick for all pages in the People Analytics Hub. You'll notice that we have 6 different links in the footer. And again, because the content and the configuration are all stored in a data set, if we ever want to add or remove links, change the images, or even change the order in which these links appear, all we have to do is go into the web form, make a few changes, save it, and it updates across the entire PAH instantaneously. There are a couple of links here that lead to additional Domo bricks that we created for the PAH. The first is the content search. As you mentioned, one of the things that our users have called out as a pain point for them is the fact that it is sometimes difficult to remember which page had the content that they need in the moment. And in order to make those search results targeted and more relevant, I created a data set using metadata from the PAH page headers and cards to create a content index of everything that's in the PAH. Now users can search for something and click on the results to be taken directly to the card or page in question. And as an added bonus, just like with the links in the landing pages, if the card or page hasn't been shared with you, it's not going to show up in the search results. So let me show you how that works. Let's say I wanted to look up some of this demo content we'd created for Domopalooza 2023. I just go in here and start typing. And here we have all cards, all pages that have anything to do with Domopalooza 2023. It searches both the page title, card title, and descriptions, and I think even category. So if we were to change that to gender, and you see we have these cards where it's in the card title or in the description, and this pulls it up. And the great thing about this is if you just want to see the page, click on it and it opens that page in a new tab. Or if you see the card that you want, you click on it and it opens the card in a new tab. The final Domo brick we created is simply a way to route page access requests to the analytics reporting teams who can determine whether or not the user should be part of one of the groups that can access the content. Because Domo bricks have the ability to access the user object in Domo, this brick is able to determine the department attribute of the signed in user, which is one of our managed attributes. So if the user is part of the people organization, depending on which department the user belongs to, the brick will link to a different intake form that will place a user story on that department's reporting team's Kanban board. And if they are part of talent acquisition, then it will link to the intake form for talent acquisition. And once again, the various links to the different intake forms are contained in a Domo web form. If we start using a different system for our work requests, or if we need to add additional menu options for users to choose from, then all we have to do is make a change in the web form or add additional rows, and the change happens immediately with zero downtime for the user. Lastly, here are a few things you need to know about using Domo bricks. In order to make use of Domo bricks, you need to be familiar with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to either make changes to existing bricks or to build your own. If the DDX brick is going to be used, or rather viewed using a mobile web browser or using the Domo app, there are additional steps and additional code that you have to use in order for it to display properly. And if that applies to you, reach out to your Domo CSM. In terms of performance, currently Domo bricks load after all other cards on the page have loaded, which means the pages take longer to load if they contain a lot of cards mixed with DDX bricks, or Domo bricks rather. But Domo is working on optimizations to improve that performance. So stay tuned for that. The other thing you need to be aware of is if you use JavaScript to parse out the page ID like we did, you need to know that the page ID is not currently available when you export the dashboard to PDF or PowerPoint. So if the brick depends on the page ID to pull content, those bricks will be blank when exporting the dashboard. And that's something Domo was also working on to resolve. If you have further questions or would like more information about Domo bricks, The best place to start is in the Domo knowledge base in the Help Center. Back to Gene.
I want to thank you for your time and attention for our presentation. If you have any questions, of course, please reach out to us. Just as a big takeaway, we used Domo Bricks in a really easy, kind of much lower effort way to give our end users an app-like experience and provide that very consistent user experience, which makes adoption much easier. So I kind of encourage you all to try it out. It really was a lot easier, right, than we thought at first. Though, of course, every technology has its learning curve, but I expect most of you would be able to pick it up pretty easily. So again, reach out with questions. Thank you for your time.